will stay with you. Though relationships get old and have the tendency to grow cold, we've got something like a miracle. I will stay with you. Oh, I will stay with you through your ups and your downs. I will stay with you when no one else is around. And when the dark clouds arrive, I will stay by your side. And I know we'll be alright. I will stay with you.
Bring it down. I will stay with you. I love you too, darling. You don't have to move, but I can stay. If I stay in with you, you can stay with me. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, darling. It is so good to be here tonight in Sion Hill. And I just want to thank you for the warmth as we walked in and the energy that we are feeling as this campaign continues to move forward. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. And please allow me to wish all the mothers, not just in this audience, but across this entire country, a happy Mother's Day, and to say thank you on behalf of all of us as a nation. Because really and truly, when you hear us talk about where we need to go and what we need to reinforce, and you heard me in Husband's Road the other night speak about it, about the importance of keeping our part of the bargain for how we raise our children. We know that mothers, you are at the source of that along with the fathers. And therefore, we have to pause as a nation and to encourage you and to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to Pastor Baird of the Mount Zion Church and to Reverend Boyce of the Church of God Church, both of whom on Monday this week blessed the campaign house and headquarters and set the tone for this campaign. And I am glad to say that the members who I lead from this platform and across the length and breadth of canvas in this constituency have taken heed and have followed that tone that both Pastor Baird and Reverend Boyce set. And I want equally to give thanks as we come into this weekend to say to Neil Rowe that I know you have had 2 harrowing years. But we give thanks for the verdict which came down this week. And we give thanks for you and your steadfastness in maintaining from day one your innocence, but that your peers, not us, have been able to also vindicate you in their result. We started this campaign with substance and spirit, not with stunts. We hear a lot about morality and we hear a lot over money. And I tell you, don't touch me because I will start to talk. But I've come here tonight to talk first and foremost about reality over rhetoric. Because it is easy to open your mouth and talk and say whatever you like, whether in Parliament, on the byways and highways, or indeed even in a law court. And there are some people, even if you show them the words and tell them what the words are, they're still going to say what they want to say regardless of what they're reading and regardless of what the facts are. And we can't help them with that. But we pray every day for discernment if you are wise. And you therefore can tell the difference between those who try to mama guy you and pull things over your eyes and those who are serious and with whom you can reason and follow and go down the line with them. I've come here tonight in a week where we have been said to the country that we are about to enter a new phase. The last 7 years, we were in an IMF program. The first 4, driven by the Democratic Labour Party's behavior in the last decade. And the second program, driven by the COVID pandemic, over which none of us had any responsibility. But we as a government, in spite of the fact that the world is very unstable, you can pick up, turn on your TV and watch and see. This week, India and Pakistan fighting. Every week, a different confusion. Every week, tariff talk, tariff on, tariff off. People frightened. And people can't do business in a frightened environment or when things are unstable easy so. You know, I would like these people to turn these lights from my eyes and let me see people out here. I want to see you. Because I come here to talk. Because this country, if it is now to make it on its own, and I have said that we will keep the IMF on press. If I have to do speed dial, so I can press one button if I need them. Call alert. You call it whatever you want. But just because you got G4S or somebody on a speed dial, don't mean that you ain't walking alone. I see it. Don't mean that you ain't walking alone. You understand? Thank you, brethren. But I'm telling you that what we have agreed to do now means that we have to take our time and to recognize that it is we and we and we alone who can carry us to the top. Thank you, brethren. And the bottom line is that Barbadians, wherever you are, if we don't earn now for ourselves, tell me how you're going to make it. No different from when your child has to leave home. When they leave home, they want to go and find a house. They got to find money to rent or own. Not true? No different from them having to find the money, hopefully through legal means. A job so that they don't go be looking behind them back or you don't go be looking behind your back, because nowadays they don't only kill who in doing the trouble, they kill off the family too. So I need us to understand, to put on your big pants and your big shirt, your big people pants and your big people shirt. Because come the end of June, there will be no more IMF program in this country. And we have come out stronger, safer. When we started, we had just over $300 million in reserves. Give me a chance. We had just over $300 million in reserves. And we had a debt payment to make in 2 weeks that would have bring us down to $100 million. And what we turned around and did was to say, stop. If your feet break and your hands break and your throat almost gone, you got to go to the doctor and get a little help, because if not, you're going to end up dying. But if you go and get the help that you need, you can stand what again? Stand tall and be strong. And that is what we did. And other countries who get powerful, foolish, and proud say, no, them ain't doing it. If Frondell Stewart had done this, I am fooling you, the Labour Party would have had hell to get back into office in 2018. But the lack of vision and the lack of leadership and the lack of courage, and we didn't come and hide and do anything behind your back. And that's why I have to deal with people like Ralph Thorne. Because he knows he was present in Wotton when we told the country that if we needed to go to the IMF, we would go. And it was our judgment after 1 week of seeing the figures and seeing how broke we were and how much money we still owed away, almost $2 billion, that they had not paid anybody. And we made the decision to go. And they have worked with us and strengthened us. But we strengthened ourselves first. Because when I went to them, I told them straight, if I go in on a long journey, you got to give people a little breakfast. And that is why in the first 2 weeks we were able to commit to increasing public servant salaries by 5%. And then a whole host of things like buying buses and buying garbage trucks. And committing to a new accident and emergency. Lord, help us if we didn't have that accident and emergency when COVID came and you had to get into the old casualty. COVID would have run away in the hospital. Run away. Because you could not do what they used to call it. Physical distance. Social distance. So that the old casualty did not have the space to be able to accommodate that. And I will never forget when I left the renaming of the Kenmore Husbands Highway the Friday evening. And I told Dale Marshall, come and go with me. We going to the old naval base. He said, for what? I said, because I feel that's where I can find a hospital so that I don't have to have all the people in the QEH exposed to the COVID. And when we got down there about 6:15 the evening, bush taller than this stage. By the next morning, MTW was down there and cleaning up inside Harrison's Point because everything had been, people carry away all the copper, people carry away everything down in there. Because the last government, when the prison moved, just left it to ruin. And in 4 weeks' time, we had more ICU beds at Harrison's Point than even at QEH for the last 50-something, 60 years. I tell you these things, not for anybody to thank me, but to lay the foundation for the fact that even though we went to an IMF program, the Barbados Labour Party took 18 months in opposition and prepared ourselves for it. So that within 7 days of being in office, having consulted the social partnership, and I will never forget the meeting, I asked everybody as the first question, who in here want to save the Barbados dollar? And everybody put up their hands, the unions, the private sector, everybody, the government people, the permanent secretaries that we were now going to work with. I said, well, take that piece of paper and everybody write down the top 3 ways. Because I don't know that there's only so much things they can do. And at the end of the day, 80% of what people write down come to fruition. And we say, and we agree. And then the other 20% over the next few months, we work out, and we submit a program. Little did we know that when we finish our debt restructuring, COVID would have licked us down so. Little did we know. But we come through that too. And why I have come here tonight is that even though we've started the small steps outside of COVID and under this program, come the end of June, it is us, and us alone. We can get help on speed dial. But it is us to try to make sure that even though outside overcast like tonight, I still talking from a meeting, we still doing our business, so overcast don't stop you. But look how many of you walk with an umbrella. Look at me walk with a jacket. Other people walk and wear sneakers because they don't want the toes getting wet and gone in the mud. People walk prepared, raincoat. And that is what we will do for the next few years as long as the world remains as unstable as it is. This is not the 80s and the 90s where many of us had it sweet and you're thinking about just enjoying life and doing what you got to do. We live in a different world. Nobody ever thought that Europe would go to war again in our lifetime. And the last time Europe was at war, your parents were eating big grain rice, and your grandparents, you know what big grain rice is? It was sweet potato. Because you couldn't get no rice. Barbados don't grow no rice. And all the things that had to come in from outside was scarce. Just like today again, when you hear this fancy language of supply chain disruption, what does it mean? That it can be difficult to get the things that you need to get to move between countries. And that's from food to spare parts. You need spare parts for the cars. You need spare parts for the hospital. You need spare parts for all kinds of things, for buildings to work with the air condition. Study ahead. And what we got is a bunch of people coming talking foolishness when the night come, trying to humbug and divide people. But I'm going to come to them tonight too. Don't worry. Kerry coming after me, so we're going to get comfortable. When I get comfortable, I come to talk real. Because if we are to grow and continue to grow, Barbados has done better than most countries in the world in the last 5 years. Don't get tied up. From the time COVID hit, we started to move away from a lot of the other countries because of how we managed. And with the help of the IMF and others, the American Development Bank and the others tell you foolishness about debt. Our debt in 2018, with the money that we owe away, was $18 billion, 16.1 or something, so in real terms, and then 1.9 billion that you ain't pay, just because you ain't pay the light bill, you ain't pay the shop that you owe, you ain't pay the man, you ain't pay the man bringing around the clothes, you don't owe it. The fact that you ain't paid don't mean that you don't owe it. Let me get real. So that our debt then was 18. It is down today. Even with all the borrowing that them talk about in 7 years, it went down to 12. It is back up to 15. Good Lord, 15 ain't less than 18. Unless you're using Calmanomics, where 20 was more than 80. My point is this, and you heard the others talk about it. There is not one of us in here, unless you born filthy rich, and there ain't got many of them in this country, that can build a house without borrowing money. That can buy a car without borrowing money. But you spread it out over time. Because you know if you had to pay back the money for the house in 2 and 3 years, it would kill you. But if you pay back for the house over 20, 25, 30 years, it's easy so. If you pay back for the car over 5 years, it's easy so. So that they are coming. Give them a chance. They are coming to try to hobble this country's future development as they did in 1991, as they did in 2008. And you have to ask yourself, as I said, why is it that each time they keep being drawn back into the pit? It is because both Frondel Stewart and now Ralph Thorne play out a 1960s, 1970s playbook of Errol Barrow, without realizing that if Errol Barrow was present today, he would be playing different shots on the wicket. And I ain't telling you what I believe, I'm telling you what I know. Because he was a man that understood that you had to play the wicket, not be a statue and play every ball as if every ball was the same. And those who are true and loyal members of the Democratic Labour Party know that. And the heart hurting them tonight because they know that they used to belong to a party of progressives and not a party that worship the dead. And I don't only mean the dead from the Democratic Labour Party, because the only thing that is titillate Frondel and titillate Ralph is talking about Aristotle and Plato and all other kinds of people that died 2,000 years ago, but can't see nor feel how you hurting and how you need to pull yourself together to lift up. Because as we know, one blow is kill all cow. And our people taught us taught us that if we work together in solidarity, that is why when the Barbados Labour Party was formed in 1938, it was called the Barbados Progressive League. A lot of people in this crowd don't know it, but tonight you're going to learn. And 3 years later, Grantley Adams and Hugh Springer and all of them would have formed the Barbados Workers' Union, recognizing that if you didn't band together, you couldn't overcome the plantocracy, that there is unity in strength, which is the theme of the union. I say to you tonight that I need you here to understand that Barbados has reached a critical juncture. This is not the 70s and the 80s. The world is at war. Not a world war, but war in Sudan, war in Ukraine, war in the Middle East, war between India and Pakistan. And who don't got war have gunplay. The Caribbean, not Barbados, other countries in the Caribbean are among the top 10 countries in the world with a per capita murder rate. 6 of the Caribbean countries and the other 4 in Central America. We live in a different world. The other thing that people have in today's world is choice. They don't have to come to Barbados. They can go to Grenada. Grenada got more beach land that is virgin, that people can go and build large hotels for acres and acres and acres. St. Lucia, you see in St. Vincent now a big sandals and another one going up at beaches. So do not believe that Barbados has the same competitive advantage that it had in the 1950s, the 1960s, and the 1970s. If you want people to recognize you, you have to stand up and you have to be attractive to them. And attractive to them means that you have to be a stable country, that you have to have good stability, that you have to be safe, that if you say you're going to do something, you do it, that you have to have a skilled workforce, that the people know what to do. And thank God, the biggest advantage Barbados got now is not the space that we got left to develop, but it's the quality of our people. And we have to don't believe that because we're good now that we will be good always. We have to dig down and keep training and retraining. Well, I got to retrain at my level. I don't take it for granted. I got to read. People say, but you don't read a script. I don't read a script because I speak what I know, I feel. But I still have to read and prepare and think. When you see an athlete, they got to prepare, not true? When you see a cricketer, they got to get fit. If not, they can't last it out there for a whole day, far less 5 days in a test match. So don't get giddy. Don't get tired up. We have to prepare. And part and parcel of what Ralph is trying to do in this country is to run the same playbook of 2008. They came to you and told you that this country did not need investment. And they told you that Owen Arthur should be put in his place for telling you that land must fetch its highest economic value. But what they did was to take what Owen said and take it out of context. Because it is not that we build hotels or villas because we just like rich people. We like affluent people. They are done to give our people jobs. And jobs help you pay rent and pay mortgage. Jobs help you give your child mother money. Jobs help you do the things, get a car, be able to enjoy yourself a little bit on a Friday and Saturday night so you don't get a heart attack because the pressure get too much and you ain't letting it steam off. Let me get real. And what Barbados has, not now, tourism has been in our business for over 100 years. That does not mean that we've not tried to diversify. Of course we've tried to diversify. But even with diversification, we know, and the people of St. James North and the people of St. Peter and the people of St. Lucie know it more than most because this is the platinum course. And this is what helps pay our bills. When COVID came, I knew it. I felt it. Because we had no money coming in the treasury. Not a cent. And we understood what it meant then to have hotels and people working. And then the truck drivers that got to bring the goods from Bridgetown and carry them to the hotels, so the hotels got food to feed people. The people who got to go and service the air conditioners in the hotels. The people who got to go and fix the pools, because if you don't fix the pool, you can have a public health crisis. Study ahead how many jobs a hotel or a villa is sustained. The gardeners. And you're going to come today in 2025 and talk about people being imprisoned. The only imprisonment was when he refused to support in Parliament the Labour Clauses bill that was brought by us, this government, to make sure that if you're going to benefit from concessions, that you treat the workers of this country properly. And we brought this bill in this country in 2024. And Ralph Thorne stood in a parliament and couldn't support it properly. And you want to tell me tonight about morality? Tell me that you are a Shakespearean follower. And we will all clap because we know you like to quote and talk. Tell me that you could go in Queen's Park Theatre and you could even perhaps go to Hollywood and get an Emmy or a Grammy. Not a Grammy because that's music. An Oscar and an Emmy. And we will say, it's true. But don't come telling me, you who can't even read the estimates in Parliament, don't know which page to turn, don't know what to do, and you're going to come telling people on the West Coast, Kerry, your constituents, Chad's constituents come May 22nd. I heard cat for that. May 22nd. And you're going to come telling us that you believe that people are imprisoned? This is the government that said that in addition to the Labour Clauses Act, that there should be a minimum wage. Don't pay people below a certain amount. And this is the government that come June, that minimum wage goes from $8.50 to $10.50 an hour. Per hour. And you want to talk, we say that we shouldn't be giving out the concessions that we give. Let me tell you a secret. One, don't give out the concessions the way you think the people are going. Which other part they're going? All the rest of Caribbean countries looking there to say, oh Lord, come here, do that. Let me catch you first. Follow Ralphie. And we mean Ralph Gonzalez. Two different Ralphs. I don't know where they got the same name. I am telling you, if we don't understand that we are in the business of attracting people, Barbados does not have enough production capacity to earn foreign exchange, to be able to buy the shirt that is on your back, to buy the cap that is on your back, to get the flour that Nichols Bakery there depending on to make the bread. We might get through with the ground provisions, and we could get through with the chicken and the pork as we should and must, and some lamb and some fish. But we ain't got enough oil for them cars to move. Almost everything that we use depends on foreign exchange. And that's why the foreign exchange cover moving from 300 million. Last month, it was at 3.4 billion. That's 3,400 million. As opposed to 300 million. When you're following me? And whereas what we inherited would last us after we pay the debt for 1 week, what I have today will last Barbados about 31 weeks. Now we need to keep earning. And in doing that, in addition to having the concessions, and don't let's get tied up, it was their government, the last government, that gave Sandals the concessions. And I'm not going to be dishonest and tell you it is a bad thing. We felt that they gave too much at the time, but having given it, it was law. And the difference was that if you get it, Saitoma, I can't say to Maureen or Tyra that they can't get it, because we live in a country of rules and fairness and transparency. And the Labour Party came in and said, well, if you're giving them that, you're going to have to give the Bajan hoteliers and the other hoteliers the same thing. Well, I don't know how hard it has been to adjust to the loss of that while still running a country that allows your children to be able to go to school and to go to UE and to do whatever you want. And while the hospital is not perfect, the reality is that we have been able to do far better than was being done because we've had to spend far more. But what is worse is that Ralph comes telling you, give the rum shop owners what the hell he thought we were doing when we gave them in March, them, every cook shop, every restaurant, everybody the right to import duty-free. All the food, equipment for kitchens. What is it that has cost the most in a restaurant or a cook shop? What's cost the most? The fridge, the freezer, the stove, the oven, the barbecue grill. And this government, in March of this year, made it possible for everybody from Belle Plaine to Sion Hill, from Batallies and Roadview to Gemswick, from Greenfield, right back across to Western, all can get duty-free access going forward so long as you register. But then again, he comes to Parliament and he spends his whole time in the phone looking at messages and smiling, and the others happen to pass behind him there and see looking at himself. Ask Kerry Simmons. Why never seen nothing so? They say he look at, he said, Ralph is a beautiful boy. Ralph is a lovely boy. Look at Ralph. Take this one, Ralph. Now, if he wasn't doing that, and he was listening to Ryan Strachan, or any of the other 28 speakers, he would have heard that this government went where no other government has gone in this country, recognizing that tourists go across the entire island to eat. And it would not be fair for me to only give the big hotels or the restaurants the duty-free access. So here's a government protecting the hotel workers. Here's a government with the same Labor Clauses Act. We do the same thing with the construction workers. And you're going to hear Colin soon come to that, because you have to make sure that if you set a standard for pay and a standard for terms and conditions, that people have to live to that, particularly in the construction sector. And what we did is also then see the small investors. So when I talk to you like this, it is because he is using a 1960s and 70s playbook to try to rile you up, to try to get you angry for political divisiveness, because he feels that the more you can make people angry and the more you can make people jealous, that they will vote, even if they end up voting against their own interests, as they did in 2008. Nobody expected when you gave David a chance. And I certainly didn't, and maybe it would have been different if David had lived. I genuinely believe so. But what we ended up having was paying the price of bad judgment. And what their record has shown us is that every time they enter the steps of Parliament in majority, they do not deliver for the people. And Ralph has used the opportunity of of the ease of walking across the floor. Let me leave it at that, because I can think of some other words that are a little more choice. The ease of walking across, less distance than this car park. Less than 20 steps. And all of a sudden, he joined leader of the opposition salary. And now asking for money for the Democratic Labour Party when he know that the rules don't allow them to access it. And those were the rules set by the Democratic Labour Party and the Barbados Labour Party 30 years ago. Why is he so concerned about money? I tell you, I ain't dealing with that tonight. But I go further. This country now must know better from experience. If you don't want the investment, Antigua, Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Dominica will take it tonight, not tomorrow. And we have to stop this love-hate conversation about investment. What we must do is what this government has been trying to do, is that when the investment come, my mother teach me always that you don't accept anything, that no comes before anything. And the others will tell you that there are people who have come to this country who wanted to do things, and I said, nope, not about here. And I've also said, no, we cannot accommodate you at this time. No, I have other uses for it. You know what was one of those conversations? Ironically, in St. James North, because I went in front of Faye Lucas' mother shop last election, and I told you, ironically, the members of this constituency, that I am not going to allow the Barbados Fire Service headquarters there to go into private hands. And that this government is not only about beach access, but it is also about beach facilities wherever we can for Bajans. And that fire service spot will be used. Now, when I came to you, we still were in COVID. Don't let me get tied up. And when all was said and done, right next to the fire station is what? The fish market. And we made a determination to do the fish market first. Because in doing the fish market first, not only are we helping the people who work in the fish market, but we are making sure that the people of the community can have what? Access to fresh fish. And now that that has been finished and open, we can now set our sights to being able to do the design to make sure that that location down there on the beach will be made available to Bajans in this constituency to be able to have both vending kiosks and obviously a restaurant or some kind of food cook shops on the upstairs of the buildings. Because you may use a different building rather than being limited to that particular design, which was really more for fire service. So that when people come, we have conversations. We don't just give them everything. They were the ones that gave cost you less. Not just the capital stuff that they needed, the bricks and the heavy equipment. They gave them the shelves, the nails. They give them everything, every little piece of thing. And this is the government. Ryan Strawn, ask any member of parliament, Ryan Strawn is as straight as they're difficult too. You understand? When it comes to defending the public purse, Ryan Strawn stand up like an upright man, straight, and talk just as straight. But it doesn't mean that we must not work with people, because if we don't get the investment. And the other thing that we're going to have to come to grips with is that Bajans are not in sufficient number to do the work that needs to be done across the board And if we don't have the Bajans here to do it, what are you going to do without it? This is a constituency that's full of Lucians and other Caribbean people. Huh? Under Errol Barrow, people were coming in here when Bajans did not want to cut cane, not true? When they did not want to do agricultural work. And therefore, for 50 years, you know what befuddles me? That it is Errol Barrow more than even Grantley Adams, because Grantley had a different environment within which to work in the 50s. Grantley had to deal with the plantocracy. Grantley had to deal with giving you holidays with pay. Grantley had to deal with giving you fair terms and conditions. Errol Barrow had to deal with the emerging industrialization of this country. And Tom Adams came to deal with the building of the new economy and starting to make right other things that Errol Barrow started. Barrow saw the Tenantries Development Act and tried to create fairness in it. Tom Adams came and said, look, what he did is good with fairness, but I go in a step further. You must be able to buy the land, because if you live on a plantation tenantry, your parents more than ever, through the blood, sweat, and tears, give. And therefore you should pay no more than 10 cents a square foot for the land. And today, 40-something years later, those who are entitled on plantations across Barbados still paying the same 10 cents. So it's cheaper to buy a piece of land and the plantation tenantry than to buy a pair of sneakers. 5,000 by 10 cents is what? $500. 3,500 square feet. 35 by 10 cents, $350. And then Owen came and recognized that we had to open up even more. And foreign trade, as Kerry would tell you, and international trade became more and more, not in goods, because we don't do enough goods, we do some, but in services. So we cannot build a country without people and without investment. Now the people we want first to come is Bajans. Tell your family that it's time to start coming home. Tell the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. Because I feel strongly that your great-grandchild should have as much right to citizenship in this country as you or your grandchild or your child. And these are the discussions we must be having in this country. But instead, you have a leader of the opposition wanting to practice the politics of divisiveness, wanting to mislead you, wanting to call for things that the government given already. Restaurants don't get everything, but they're going to get the food equipment. I ask you, my friends, to recognize that the election choice is clear. Exceptionally clear. And in Chad Blackman, I bring a man not to come and be also ran. I bring a man who can add serious value to the condition of this country, especially as we prepare to walk on our own once again for the first time in 7 years. When I asked this country to walk with us, when we sought to become a republic, I knew that that would be the first step that we needed to get Bajans to develop the confidence to look in the mirror and see the mirror image, as Mr. Barr would tell you, that you love, in order to prepare for this moment. Because I knew that if you are going to be an adult, just like your children have grown to be adults, they must be able to stand tall and stand strong. And what is our condition in this country that I'm asking you to ask Chad to come and help build? We are good, but we can go into trouble if the international economy goes. But if we continue steadfast, we will, even if we get into trouble, we will not fall as far as others or as far as we would have fallen before. Unemployment in Barbados tonight, the end of last year, was 7.1%. In other words, almost 93 people out of every 100 working. And I don't take comfort from that because the General Secretary of the Workers' Union will tell you that she keeps talking to us about underemployment and not just unemployment. And that is why the Labor Clauses Act mattered so much. And Kerry Simmons and Ian Goodenough would have worked with me for over a year to get the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association to recognize that we asked these workers to make a sacrifice in the middle of COVID. And if they didn't agree to the sacrifice, with us changing the Severance Payments Act, that all of the hotels in this country, plus the government of Barbados' Severance Payments Act fund, would have gone bankrupt. But I live in a blessed country where when we are in trouble, people know how to pull together and lift together. And that is why I say, if you share the burden, you must share the bounty. And that is why you're going to get the $300 check, each and every one of you over 18 years old in this country. I would have loved for it to be more. But what I do know is that in households with a mother and 2 or 3 adult children working, 18, 20, she might got another child at 17 and at 10. You and I know that's the reality across a lot of households in this country. She can now rely on 3 or 4 300s coming in that household. You mean that I'm going to make a difference to people? You forget that I run a line football tournament where the men tell me that the $75 a night is what will help buy some Pampers and buy a few goods so that they could get to the next game. Rather forget that the old people tell us that ungratefulness worse than witchcraft. I ask you to let us deal with reality over rhetoric. Let us deal with action over words. Let us deal with substance over stunts. Let us deal with empathy and caring over turning your back. And if you ever wanted to doubt me, ask Steve Blackett. Steve, I know wherever you are in this world, you hear my voice. Ask Ronnie Yearwood. They may be my opponents, but they were never my enemies. Ask Tyra. Ask Undine. No, Miss Map, that's the one that's hurt me the worst. Because in 2013, when she went on that bus and let that bus take out and go along the road when we know that it should never have been carrying anybody anywhere. The only place that dump was carrying us to was the dump up there in Vaucluse. And poor Miss Map being treated, shut out, treated like I don't know what. People can't use the bathroom. The lady that gave them the stove so that they could cook in there. What foolishness is this? And I'm not ready to talk about how Ralph treat Neil. No. You cannot go be opportunistic and walk less than 20 feet. Take up a job that can give you a salary and a pension. You forget that. And then chase away everybody who was trying the best to rebuild the party. I may not agree with all of them, as I said. How you treat Trisha Tannis, she said it too. Tyra, I thank you for coming here. And some of you who come, I can take care. That's the truth. Not because I train for all, but because this place, this country, must create space for people to add value, because we still, if I take all, I still don't have enough for us to lift up Barbados and to fight off the winds from Donald Trump, from the UK, from France, from India, from all of the other parts of the world. And when we finish with that, we got to deal with the climate crisis. What foolishness. I am a strong Democrat. But there are other parts of the world where they find ways of utilizing all their people. I don't agree with that because sometimes it means suppression of opinion. But in this party, this is the same party that every month that's go and hold Paris Speaks and that's go and hold Ideas Forum. But Ralph instead goes into a party, runs everybody out. But I suppose that's what happens when you see a rat. I don't know which rat they saw, because there used to be a lot in River Road by the bus stand there. George Street and far. But goes out there, the place gets empty. You now start to exploit emotionally vulnerable people. It's wrong. And then you take a few who are the weakest of the weakest from fluffy to fluffy to fluffy. And in taking the weakest, you then want people to believe that you are serious when you are not even engaging with proper ideas or replaying a scenario that is suitable to the decade in which we live. We live, Ralph, in the third decade of the 21st century. You will be 70 next year or year after. You must appreciate that. If it's one thing you have, is that you have lived long enough to know. And I say to the Barbadians tonight, but I say in particular to the residents of St. James North, leading this country and managing its affairs going forward in this uncertain world is going to be a very, very, very difficult exercise. As I speak to you tonight, when I get off the stage, I have to go and speak to the National Security Advisor of Kenya. Why? Because the Kenyan troops are in need of assistance in Haiti. The equipment that they need has not been given to them. And if they don't get it, they go like lambs to the slaughter. 1 million people in Haiti tonight have been displaced in the last few years. More people are killed in Haiti every month. Not every month, sorry. Many months last year than were killed at any other point anywhere else in the world. And yet Haiti is not at war with another country. Haiti is imploding. And as chair of the Caribbean community, I had to remind the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, that I came to office like Chad as a young Minister of Education in 1994. And the first trip that Owen Arthur made to my memory was to go to Washington to deal with Haiti. And 30 years later, I am having to deal with Haiti as chairman of CARICOM, dealing with worse circumstances. And a world, as Pope Francis has said, enveloped in indifference, not seeing people, not feeling people, not hearing people. And the consequences of it to the region are dire. If a place becomes capable of allowing trafficking in guns, trafficking in organs, trafficking in humans, and trafficking in drugs. If a place has, as we are seeing now in some things that have been shared with us and that the Kenyans have validated and verified, where people are being forced into labor in exchange for food and humanitarian aid in the country that declared itself the first black republic and repudiated slavery, then all of us have a responsibility to stand up and make sure that the people of Haiti can be safe, and that by extension, we and the rest of the region will be safe. I say to you that in this world, where the climate crisis in Barbados 2 years ago, we had a drought, that our rainfall for the first 6 months of the year was less than half, less than 50% of what it was for the 30 years before. This country needs strong leadership not the politics of division and divisiveness and jealousy and envy. We have been hit by a freak storm, by Hurricane Elsa, by Hurricane Beryl. And I will tell you more about the coast when we get down later in the week, and the Barbados Oceans and Coastal Authority that we are now going to establish. We have said that we don't expect people from outside, and I can end on this point. I came here tonight to tell you that we have no one to rely on, that we must be firm craftsmen of our faith. And I say to you tonight that when we asked you to be able to come forward and put a little piece of change in the catastrophe fund, and now it is the regenerative and resilience fund, and the government will equally do that. Every year we do it because God helps those who help themselves. And we cannot go to the rest of the world when we have a crisis, and as fate would have it, the rain would start to fall. We cannot go in the midst of a crisis and ask people for help if we are not helping ourselves. So my friends, the choice is clear. The man you heard from, Colin Jordan, is one with whom you can commune, you can eat, you can drink, can walk with you. Little children, don't turn the eyes from him. Little children, don't run from him, because they know that he is real. They know that he has a spirit of kindness. They know that he has passion. They know that he's already started. And whether it is the tech club or whether it is the co-ops that he wants to get going, people ask, why he didn't do it before? What foolishness is that? The man is now coming. You then say that he has an unfair advantage, that he had a year's notice. Didn't Ralph tell us to call the election last year? But who is telling you to call the election and them ain't ready for it? And then call unfairness. Then call foul. Ask the game to start and then holler foul when the umpire blow the whistle. Foolishness. So my friends, come May 21st, and especially to the young people who have never voted, your ex must not touch the box. You look for the name Chad Blackman. And just as you see on these t-shirts, the X is in the box but not touching the lines. I want you to come out in your numbers. Don't tell me that you know he's going to win. We don't know that. Each ballot box starts empty. But we also have to be able to tell him and the rest of this constituency what your expectations are by coming out and giving the mandate, the rain done, so you can start, or it's still coming, a little bit. But it's not a speed dial moment. But I'm asking you to bring out your neighbors, because a message must be sent to him that you are giving him your confidence, and that he must understand that he must be dependable and to give back to you. And this party does it, even in the hardest of times. So my friends, thank you. And as you reflect on the matters, weighty as they are, do us the favor. Do yourself the favor. And give Barbados a chance by giving Barbados Chad Blackman to help lift heavy weight in this country. I hope that you will be with me, therefore, on the night of the 21st. And that when we hear the counting house, we will be hearing Blackman, 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 Blackman. Kerry, come on stage. Blackman, Blackman, Blackman. Blackman, Blackman, Blackman.